Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Tuesday, September 8th, and we have just survived a crazy Labor Day of unbelievable sports, ups and downs and twists and turns. It has been a blast. So we are excited to talk a little bit about, just encompassing everything on this 3-day weekend and then getting ready for this awesome card on Tuesday. So I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I'm here with, as normal, my partner in crime, Mr. Andrew Hansen. Andrew, are you exhausted like I am here after these 3 days of intense sports?
Well, the lights are on here. The record button has been pushed, so it's game time. So I've got my second wind here, late night, early morning, and excited that our GPP lineup on FanDuel cashed. Yeah. Even though it had Lowry and Siakam, we cashed because Lou Williams was solid, Paul George was money. We had Michael Porter Jr. in that lineup. We had Tice, so we're able to sneak in the GPP line, and let's gear up for another big day tomorrow. Another big day on the Tuesday slate.
No doubt about it. We had I just have to mention this, and it's not from a gloating standpoint because I know the circumstances were bizarre from the game, but I got so much noise on Twitter and YouTube, everybody giving me trash for wanting to play Norman Powell.
Yeah.
And he had 22.5, which I gave the old guarantee that he'd have at least 20, regardless of the game script or whatever. I said he's going to have over 20, which was a ballsy move.
It was.
And he got 22.25 and was over 5x. So I've got to give my woo. That's my Randy Macho Man Savage, or even further back. Who's the wrestler from way back?
Macho Man. That's all you need. That's a good reference right there.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll stick with that.
It worked out for you. Congratulations. It was a bold guarantee.
It was
to say regardless of game script, because I think if it was close, it would not have happened.
Well, if the bear wouldn't have shit in the woods, you wouldn't have stepped in it. So no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Now, I'm just saying, if it was happening again tonight, I'd make the same call. I wouldn't play him. But
let's just say I feel like I escaped with one here, and I'm not going to go that far out on a limb on a guarantee because I'll tell you, it was like it ended up being like 75-80% of folks agreed with you. So you can all eat it. That's all I want to say. I love all you guys and you listeners, but just take a nice big juicy bite.
Well, guess what? They're playing something called Game 6 on Wednesday. So we can talk about it again for the Wednesday show.
Yes, we can, for sure. And I want you to know that I cashed my DraftKings lineup with Norman Powell in it. Yeah. So I am so happy. But listen, I'll tell you, it was a crazy day of basketball. Whoever believed that Toronto, would lay that big of an egg? I had mentioned they were playing. We had talked about the fact that they had played their guys just a massive amount of minutes, and that was my whole theory of what started the whole Norman Powell thing. Is I felt like at some point he had to play his bench a little bit because they were going to run out of gas, and they ran out of gas, man. They looked terrible. It was a crazy game, just craziness. And then then we had the drama with the Joker, and now we have the drama on this slate with Giannis. Same scenario.
Here we go again.
Oh Lord, no rest for the weary. That's for sure. All right. Well, we're going to dive into the slate. We've got injury news already up. We've got the mybookie.ag lines. I'm done gloating now, and I don't usually gloat, so I enjoyed that. That was fun. All right. Mybookie.ag lines are up. I got those pulled up, and we'll start off with that, and then we'll do our ad sponsor read here in the middle. So for you guys that fast forward the beginning, gotcha. All right, first game, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. It is the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. Vegas has this as the Heat favored by 2.5. So that's a massive siren, at least in my head, that Vegas doesn't think Giannis is going to play. Because if they do announce he's playing, that line's going to move. And the over-under is 217. That's also down a little bit too. So that's another indication. So very interesting game. Let me go over the updated injury report for tomorrow. Some that don't matter. The one I know that you were concerned about, Dion Waiters, is doubtful. So
right.
You want to get him out of that lineup probably.
Right, exactly.
Kelly Olynyk is questionable again. So he was questionable last game and played. I think he'll probably go, but he's questionable. Tyler Hero, my man, is also questionable with an ankle, but he finished that game, hit the last three. I'm hoping he'll play. The one that we said is a massive, red light for us to take a look at is Jay Crowder is on there as questionable. Now, we read through all this prior to the podcast, and he did go through Monday's shoot-around as normal, so I think he's on track to play, even though he's listed questionable. But it's something to keep in mind. Anthony Davis is probable. First time he's been on the report. LeBron James, probable. Some guy by the name of Giannis Antetokounmpo is questionable. And we read through this sucker backwards and forwards. The bottom line is he did not go through the shoot around or practice today. He just did stationary stuff where he didn't have to move. They did say that, of course, they're treating it around the clock. According to a comment that he made, he feels similar going into this game tomorrow as he did going into the other game, this last game that he started. So I don't know if that means he's leaning to playing or not. It's a true game time decision. So whatever we build here, it's going to certainly pivot depending on what that news is. So the bottom line is I don't think we're going to know this news until closer to game time. It is the first game, so we should be able to be set and ready. And JaVale McGee is questionable as well. And no, there's no way in God's green earth I would ever think of putting Dwight Howard in a lineup ever again. If he was $0 and I had an extra spot, a ninth player that they would allow me to play, I would refuse and take a blank spot, just for the record. All right, so that's the news there. And so what do you got? We got the Heat and the Bucks. I know you're chomping at the bit on this one because you got a couple good plays. What's the deal?
Well, I think Milwaukee has a chance to win this game. To be honest,
they're favored.
No, Milwaukee. You said Miami's favored by 2, right?
I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah. Yes.
I don't think the series is over yet. And I am, really going to be paying close attention here because I am interested in playing Giannis. That quote is really important to me. If he is feeling similar to how he was going into the last game, let's not forget what happened. He dominated that game in the first quarter. It was the Giannis show. Nobody else was even involved. He played 11 minutes and he scored 28.5 fantasy points. He was on pace for 85 to 90. He was on pace for a monster game. And then he twisted the ankle. So I am going to be prepared to play him again and have that game go in a similar way. Really, it was set up perfectly. If you played him and then a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, that's all you needed. But then he got hurt, and then it was the Middleton show, and then it went to overtime. So it just went crazy after that. But
it was nuts. And Middleton took 28 shots once Giannis is out. That's another thing. If Giannis does sit, man, Middleton's probably a must plug in.
Right. DraftKings has priced up these other bucks in case Giannis sits. Bledsoe's up to 6.2, Middleton 8.6, and even Lopez is up to 6,000. But if Giannis sits, I am interested in all three of those guys. I think they're going to pick up a bunch of usage. I don't think they're going to quit. I think they're going to go hard and give this game a good run, even if Giannis doesn't play. So I'm interested in those guys. And on the Miami side, I'm actually not interested in much. The prices are still a little bit on the high side for me. Crowder being questionable and banged up, I'm not really interested in him. Hero, with the hip being questionable, that's like the perfect injury to slow him down. The guy uses his quickness and agility to get open. He did hit those threes late, so he looked fine, but he's sort of on the borderline for me. Dragic is still in consideration as the point guard on FanDuel, but for the most part, I'm really going to be playing more Bucks here than Heat.
Interesting. Man, I'll tell you, it's just so dependent on that Giannis news. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to give my breakdown tonight here, just assuming Giannis isn't going to play, and then we'll adjust things as we go. Obviously check us out on Twitter, DFS at DFS Coach Talk, and then jump in Discord, because it's gonna take breaking this down. That 30 minutes before lock, I think, to get it solidified. If he sits, then, Middleton, even though he's 8'6", which is a big number, just the usage, again, we talked about it in this last game, when we weren't sure if Giannis was going to play, and he gets by far the biggest usage bump, and it showed. And it's exactly what we stated on the podcast 2 days ago is, and he gets the direct value of that. It doesn't spread out as much as you'd think. And he did. He took 28 shots after Giannis went down in 3 quarters. So that's certainly going to be a lock and load for me, even if it's as a blocker. I think Middleton's going to be super high owned. I don't like the fact that the price went up so much on the pretty cheap Bledsoe and Lopez, because those guys have been nice and slide in there and get a decent deal on, but now it's tough, man. It makes them, you want to question them. I'm also not going to chase the DiVincenzo hot game. Everybody's going to try to do that. They will probably, get him big minutes again as the fill-in guy if Giannis sits. It's just, I don't think it's just a sharp play to chase those points with him, even though he's 3,500 on DraftKings.
Well, that's the thing. I love him over there at 3,500. On FanDuel, he's 4,500. So it changes everything. I mean, you look at the point guards from Milwaukee on FanDuel, they're all bunched together. Bledsoe's 52, Hill is 48, and DiVincenzo's 45. Yeah, so to me, it makes sense to really look at Bledsoe over there. Not quite as much on DraftKings.
You're exactly right. And the builds are going to have to be different because the pricing is so massively different. Like you brought up before the show, the key thing too, Rondo. I mean, when we go over him later, I mean, it shifts your build. So you're going to have completely different builds on the two if you're doing it right. So
summer is here and sports are finally back, which can only mean one thing. It's time to get back, relax, and make some cash. Everyone has to start somewhere, which is why you want to get off on the right foot by choosing an established book like MyBookie.ag. With all the major sports seasons just around the corner, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Dynamic betting lines and a simple-to-use platform make the process easier than it's ever been. Create your account in just a few easy steps. Deposit and begin placing your bets. Sign up now using promo code COACHTALK to get your deposit matched 100% all the way up to $1,000. Plus an extra $25 free play. That's promo code COACHTALK. Use it to score yourself an extra piece of the pie. With MyBookie, you bet, you win, and most importantly, when you win, you get paid.
After that, on the Miami side, I still like some Miami guys here. I think they want to close this sucker out. I think they go real hard tomorrow. They don't want it to go to 3-2 because you start flirting with destiny at that point. So I think they put the pedal to the metal. I think Dragic, he had sort of an off game the last game. I'm willing to pay $7,200 on DraftKings for him. I mean, he's going to have the ball in his hands. I think, he's going to get some big shots. He's $7,200 on both. I think he's my favorite Heat player, without question. And then the other guy, if Giannis does not play, I'm going to spend up and go to Bam. Giannis was the defensive player of the year. He's the rim protector. And, Bam's played really good ball, even in that situation. If Giannis sits and all of a sudden the only shot blocker you have is Brook Lopez, who can block a shot, but nothing like a rim protector that Giannis is. And if they go smaller and use DiVincenzo and stuff, I think it just opens up the paint for Bam. And he's such an unselfish player. When it was jammed up with Giannis in there and Lopez, then, he was kicking it, getting assists, doing whatever, hitting the mid-range jumper. But I just love him in this spot to be the difference maker. So I'm going to take the two veterans as my two buy-up guys right off the bat with Miami. My favorite two plays are definitely Dragic and Mr. Bam. So what do you think?
Yeah, solid guys. Again, if you're new to the program, Coach is the cash player. I focus more of the GPP perspective. So keep that in mind. But again, with the pricing, I also want to encourage people to play different guys on different sites, like Coach is talking about. I mean, you get into this mindset of thinking, well, there can only be 8 good plays because there's 8 guys on the roster or 9 on FanDuel, but that's just not the case. There's no rule that says that because there's only 9 roster spots that only 9 guys can exceed value. You can have 15 guys that exceed value, and you can have different combinations be the winning lineup on different sites just because of the pricing. Right. So just keep that in mind.
And it's magnified when it's a 2-game slate like this, because we all only have so many options. You had mentioned earlier when we were talking too, like, for example, on FanDuel, you've got Anthony Davis, Brook Lopez, and PJ Tucker. That's it. There's really nobody else you can start at center.
For centers,
at all. Yep. So it's like, so that puts you in a box. Whereas on DraftKings, you have multitude of options of, players playing different positions. So I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad we stated it, because you are going to have different builds. And that doesn't mean one's going to win, one's going to lose. You could win in both or lose in both. It's just, but you have to let the salaries dictate it, and also the scoring. Look at the scoring edges, because it's 5. I mean, I had 1 turnover at the end of that game by LeBron, and I think 1 by Davis or something, and just 2 little 1.2s like that. Bing, you move 30 positions. So, every single point counts. But I'm with you on that for sure. All right. We will go to game 2. Real quickly, though, want to thank our presenting sponsors, mybookie.ag and tvg.com. Mybookie.ag is the place to go for all your casino and sports wagering action. And tvg.com is your horse racing spot. They are the best on the planet. You can sign up for either one of them through our website, dfscoachtalk.com. Both of them use the same promo code, whether it's MyBookie or TVG.com, and that is Coach Talk. All one word, no space. And if you put that in, you get a $300 risk-free bet on TVG, and they will match your first deposit all the way up to 1,000 smackers on MyBookie, and you get a free $25 free play just because Andrew says so.
That's right.
It. Twitter, at DFS Coach Talk. Follow us tomorrow. You got to watch this news. 1 play shifts the slate. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic, and Shane is at DET Sports Shane. All right, game 2. We've got the mybookie.ag line of the Houston Rockets, a 5-point underdog. Lakers are only favored by 5. It is 224, so it's 7 points higher than the other game. And the pricing has been juiced on some of these guys. They don't want to ever let somebody like me play both LeBron and Davis in the same lineup ever again. So it's, the prices are going to be interesting. The question is, how do you see this game script of this game? Is this going to be another battle it out where everybody's just blowing up and playing great, or do you see a shift in this game?
I see another battle here. I expect this to be, within 7 or 8 points either way. I could see either team winning this game, but because I think it's going to hover around and be a competitive game either way, I am going to get a little bit more exposure to this game than the first one, most likely overall. LeBron, I think I prefer him a little bit over AD for the Lakers, but you can try to play them both, so we'll have to play around with that. Rondo was terrific. I mean, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 9 assists, and sort of as you mentioned, that Vogel had said he's going to be an important part of this series, and he showed it. And the price discrepancy is just incredible. 3.9 on DraftKings, 6.2 on FanDuel. I just don't know why you would fade him on DraftKings.
No, 100% you got to play him, even as a blocker. I mean, he's going to be 90% owned at that price. And, we that's why, the difference here at DFS Coach Talk, and I know I say this all the time, but it really is, we pay attention to all of the things like Coach Talk comments, just body language, all of those pieces. You don't get that stuff in optimizers or in statistical analysis. That's all stuff that you see. When we quoted that on the podcast the night before last, and Vogel flat out said that Rondo is a key contributor to this team in the rest of the playoffs, and we're going to run a lot through him, that was just a go sign all the way around. And we got him cheap on both sites. Now, DraftKings forgot. They screwed up. They didn't move him up. You play him there. I don't even think he's out of play at that price on FanDuel. I think
agree.
He's still at least worth discussing.
Definitely. Yeah. Yep. So, the general theme here with the Lakers is that I think they'll go small again. It worked last game. Markieff Morris came out there, got a bunch of shots, was incredibly hot. But I think he'll get another chance to get solid minutes. Kuzma stepped up and actually got to the basket, 6 of 7 from the field. He only took 1 3-pointer. He was hovering right around value. I think all those guys are in play, and those two in particular, again, perfect example in price and site specific. Markieff Morris is 3.5 on DraftKings, and he's 1,300 less than Kuzma. But on FanDuel, he's only 200 less than him, 44 and 46. Crazy. Now, so that one for me is a little bit more clear that I probably am only going to consider Markieff Morris on DraftKings at 3.5. On FanDuel, if he's at 4.4, I'm probably just going to pay up for Kuzma at 4.6 if I go in that direction. So wanted to mention that. And then with Houston, Tucker was phenomenal. He's still under 5K on DraftKings. I think he makes a lot of sense, especially you can have 2 centers. Right. You can't play him in AD on FanDuel today because they're both centers now.
Yeah, AD got moved to center for the first time. He's been power forward all year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Eric Gordon's still in play. I'll let you talk about him. I still prefer Westbrook over Harden on DraftKings. He's 2,600 less, and if I'm going to pay 11,000 on this slate, it's going to be for LeBron, Giannis, or AD. It's not going to be Harden. So really, it's looking like the key guys for me from Houston will be Tucker and/or Gordon and/or Westbrook.
Interesting, very interesting. I'll tell you, for me, it's become fairly apparent that the Lakers are pretty much a 2-man team. Let's face it. Davis and LeBron just completely dominate, and then you get periphery help from some of the guys, but nothing like earth-shattering. I mean, there's really not a third guy that you can say, this guy is awesome, or he needs to be, is it Rondo? Is it, now, and he's just stepped into it as a Kuzma, all of this stuff, but none of them are great plays. So what it tells me is it really is hard to build a lineup where you don't have either Davis or James, because if you don't have one of the two, they get so incredible much usage and points. It's hard chasing that money. So
yeah.
I don't think you can afford both unless you do stars and scrubs, which we know how that just doesn't really work as well in a 2-game slate like this. So, I just believe it's either Team Davis or Team James. You got to choose, and then you build from there. For me, I'm going with Anthony Davis, and here's the reason. I think with McGee dinged up, maybe not going to play. Howard's not seeing the floor. They're better when Davis is at center. They're more mobile. They can score. They defend better. I mean, they're going to play Davis a lot at center. He's going to get a lot of the rebounds, and he doesn't have to lose some of those rebounds like he usually does in chunks to McGee and Howard and such. So I love the upside of Davis. LeBron's playing great basketball, no question about it. But it's a salary world. You can't play both. But for me, I think, the old remember the Road Runner? I don't know if I used this analogy before with you, but the Road Runner cartoons when the Road Runner would put a gigantic sucker in the middle of the road and the coyote'd come out and he'd go get the sucker and then the rock fell and squished him.
Right.
Well, that's what I think the big sucker is, Markieff Morris. So if you chase after him, I think you're going to get smushed by the rock. Because, Listen, Morris is not that good. Marcus is better than Markieff. Markieff came in and hit 4 uncontested threes in a row. That's not going to happen. There's going to be monster regression. Even if they play smaller and play Davis at center, the 4 spot's still going to be shared between a multitude of guys, including Kuzma and on down the road. They're gonna rotate guys, go smaller, the whole thing. When you have LeBron and Davis, they're positionless, so they could be the 1-2 or the 4-5 in realistic terms. So it changes your rotation. So I'm not going to go Morris. I think he's just a trap play for sure. But I'm still the 2 guys that I can't get past, and I don't understand why they're not going up. You have to explain this to me. I have played, and I've mentioned this on every podcast, I've played Eric Gordon every single playoff game, and he has yet to miss value. And he's only at 54. I mean, he's there with like Duncan Robinson and, George Hill and Daniel House and these guys. The dude's just dropping buckets. I mean, he really is. And I think he's underpriced. So Gordon, for the millionth time, is going to come in again. PJ Tucker, I'm with you on 5,600 on FanDuel, and then a fair price on DraftKings. Money equals minutes with him. He's going to get all the minutes he can eat. They have to have him out there because no one else can, defend a post player or whatever. I mean, the man's amazing. So, I love the value plays with Tucker and Gordon once again. I think that you can feel pretty comfortable going there. I really do. After that, it's just that's pretty much my build with those guys. Pay up for Davis being the one pay up guy. I don't think you can play more than Davis, James Harden, or Giannis. I think you just pick one of them. They're all priced 10-6 to 11-4. I don't see how you fill up your lineup if you try to play 2 of them. So for me, my big play on the buy up is Anthony Davis. I know I was super high on him last time. He was one of my best plays of the season. He did smash still. He didn't get the 75 or 80, but what did he have? 60, I think. He was up there, 58. He did really well. So I think he's a solid play again. The one guy I have to, and you mentioned him, and I wanted to ask you a little bit. He's 9,000 on FanDuel, and he's all the way down to 8,400 on DraftKings is Westbrook. So what's the deal, man? I mean, he turns it over. He can't shoot the ball from outside, let's face it. But he also can put 60 fantasy points on the board in your eye before you even know it, and then tell you suck on top of it. So, I mean, what do you think about Westbrook? I can't figure out what to do.
I think we were talking off air about it after the last game. It's like he drinks a dozen Mountain Dews before the game. The guy has just the most incredible motor almost in the history of the game. I mean,
scary.
It's not just that he's always playing hard, but with that much intensity and aggression. I mean, it's really phenomenal. If he can just rein it in and not get 5, 6, 7 turnovers. I mean, the turnovers just kill you on FanDuel.
They do.
If he can either shoot a little bit better from distance, or just get to the rack a little bit more. I mean, I really think he's going to get a triple double here one of these games, and not make 6 or 7 turnovers, get a couple blocks and steals, and like you said, get 50, 55, and really smash value. I mean, with those prices that you mentioned, he is more attractive to me on DraftKings. He's for FanDuel, I think he's not going to be very highly owned because of that higher price.
Right.
And, he's stuck in at point guard. You can't move him around anywhere. There's several cheap point guard options over there that you can look at. So maybe like on a second lineup on FanDuel, I'll get him out there. And then on DraftKings, like I said, I do prefer him to Harden. Again, multiple lineups. I will definitely get him in there at least once, because I'm gonna have a share of him when he gets that triple double.
I'm really looking at possibly playing him for the first time. I haven't been playing him, but I think there's a couple of things that come into play here. Vogel does run some doubles at Harden and make him give up the ball.
Yep.
And they had success with doing that in a couple of the games. They did it quite a bit in one stretch. And, he gets rid of the ball real quick and gets it to Westbrook and lets them go 4-on-3. And if they do that, for me, with Gordon spotting up for 3, Westbrook driving to the hoop, and Tucker standing in the corner for the open 3, and they're going 4-on-3 at that point, I'll take my chances every time down the floor with those 3 guys. So,
yep.
If you believe that they'll really try to double Harden and get the ball out of his hands, then I think that stacking those 3 guys on Houston is a super sharp play. And I very well may do it in cash. I think it's a no-brainer to give it a shot in GPPs. But, I know that he's not hitting the 3 well. He doesn't need to. He never has hit the 3 well, and he's led DFS for, 8 years in a lot of times, or he's right up there. So I think he's a smart play. I think, Harden is unguardable by one man. No one man can guard him and not foul him going to the basket. You can't stop him. So, if they double him, if they run him, if they try to blitz it, or at least even show, because sometimes if you just show with Harden that you're going to blitz it, he'll get rid of the ball super quick to try to beat it. And then you can just help and recover and then, almost get back. So, that's the theory I'm looking at in this game. So, I want to break pretty much half and half my lineup in these 2 games. I think they both deserve exposure. But with only buying up with Davis with the 4 big guys, I can probably squeeze in Westbrook and give him a run with Dragic. Those would be my 3 high price guys. And then because I can get Gordon and TJ in the mid 5s, then you start talking about, okay, we got a shot at this. And then on DraftKings, it's easy because you get Rondo at 39. So,
yep.
I think this can be a good takedown slate, no question about it. There's going to be a lot of similarities in chalk, but, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to, especially if Giannis plays, that goes with Giannis. You'll still have a lot of Harden truthers that stick with him. And of course, LeBron is LeBron. He's going to get his ownership. So I think if you look at some different builds, the one I'm looking at, and just tweak with it a little bit, I think you can come up with a real winner. Because, with all of those guys, yes, you're going to have one of them probably going to have 65 fantasy points. So you're not going to have them in there. But that doesn't mean that you're going to get smashed either, because if other people are trying to double up those big guys, they're going to be scratching with Markieff Morris and his 12 DFS points, or they're going to be chasing, Marvin Williams again, or there'll be some dumbass that puts Dwight Howard in there, or or something like that to make out a roster when they need to save salary. So anyway, that's my theory. That's the game script I'm looking at. And hopefully Vogel's smart enough to know that he's got to get the damn ball out of Harden's hands.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is the more we talk about it, I like this slate. I like how there's significant price differences, and the two builds are going to be a little bit different. Even if you have 3 or 4 core players, the peripheral parts are going to be a little bit different. So we're going to grind this all the way towards lock, and we'd love to have you jump in with us as members if you're not already, and get our FanDuel hybrid lineup that you can use in cash games, single entries, and then our FanDuel GPP lineup and the DraftKings coaches clipboard with our core plays and pivots. And so we do that for our members every day, every slate in NBA 7 days a week. And we've got the fall special running now. If you play NFL DFS, jump in right now. We've got a 4-month membership through the end of the calendar year. It's a big savings on our monthly membership. So it's down all the way to $199. We've had a bunch of people jump in here in the last week and grab that. So we're excited about that, and being able to offer you all of the sports for one package, unlike a lot of the other providers.
And just absolutely correct. And just so you know, too, we don't put in all these crazy sports that nobody really knows what's going on with. We play the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and PGA. The 4 main ones. We have pros. We just dissect the life out of them. We don't throw the crazy stuff up there that, you just take shots with lineups. So, we're going to go in depth with all 4 of them, which I'm very proud and very excited. I'll be posting them on Twitter tonight and in our Discord. I actually cashed well in PGA for the tournament, full tournament, and I didn't have Dustin Johnson, which goes to show you don't always have to have number 1 to build a great lineup, but I had 2, 3, and 5, so it was awesome. Cashed in baseball. We were thinking we were going to have a monster takedown, but we still cashed, did great in baseball. And then basketball, DraftKings I was able to smash tonight, and I had 2 snowflakes. It was just one of those weird basketball days. I think everybody got confused with lineups tonight. So that worked out great. So the bottom line is if you come and join us, you're going to get very in-depth look at those 4 sports. And we're going to uncover everything throughout the day on Twitter, in Discord. We've got some great members, some incredible new members that have just joined, sharing good information, posting stuff. It's very helpful to be in there with a bunch of pros and a bunch of people that really understand DFS. You can get some ideas and thoughts and tips and builds, and it's a really good community. So we'd love to have you join us for sure.
That's if you want to join, go to dfscoachtalk.com and go to the membership page and sign up there.
Absolutely. And we would love to have you. And we want to keep this hot streak going for sure. We did, and full disclosure, we always say it all here. We did slip just 0.2 of a point under 80% winning percentage on our hybrid FanDuel basketball lineup. So that was the only negative of today, but we're going to get it back tomorrow. We did smash it on DraftKings though. So, it's the bills are different, like we said, and you have to adjust to some of them, but we're going to get the winning streak going on FanDuel, get back above 80% tomorrow, because that is the magic number I'm shooting for our members. So that is it, man. I think that's most of the news is going to be tomorrow with the Giannis information. That will put all the dominoes into play. It'll be much easier than today when we had the second game being the Joker, when you had to sort of leave salary and figure out what you wanted to do. But we'll know, before the first game rolls exactly how we want to set it up. So outstanding, man, as usual. Great job. Any final words NBA-wise?
Let's keep crushing it.
Let's keep crushing it. We want to also mention our charity choice here, mambon3.org, MAMBAONTHREE.org. Definitely check us out at dfscoachtalk.com, and we will certainly be back again tomorrow as we look to crush it in DFS.